thank you all for joining on tonight. I'm hoping that Eric gets in really good and he comes on in. We're going to be hosting together tonight. This is his podcast. He doesn't have any, we don't have anybody. Okay, there we go. And come on in. Come on in, Eric. There he goes. Hey, how are you doing? Okay,
I'm good.
Part of our doing well. Our faces are not coming in. Let's see what happened. Did I accidentally push a button? Are you there?
Second.
There. Okay.
There we go.
But your face isn't.
Right.
Your face isn't all the way in the screen. There. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to rotate your phone a little bit.
Yes. See what we can work out here.
And we are live.
Right.
We are live now. How are you doing?
All right. Hey, cousin, how are you?
Now you done rotated. I gotta rotate, so we both.
There you go.
So we both are. It said rotate your camera. You can't turn your phone while live. Oh wow. Okay. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, we still working out the kinks, folks, but we getting it together.
We almost there. We almost there.
Oh yeah.
I gotta sit back. There we go. There we go. That's good. I'll sit back a little bit. So we have. Go ahead and you can go ahead and introduce yourself, and we'll go ahead and start.
Okay, people, as promised, live and direct from Maryland and Detroit, Michigan. The D. We are live with our new joint video podcast, What the Bucks. I am Eric Buckner.
And I am Dr. Marla Facey, and I am also a Buckner. That's my maiden name, so that's where you get hints, What the Buck.
Exactly. Shout out to all the family members that's checking us out, Facebook and eventually YouTube and some of our other streaming platforms that we will have this joint to.
Amen.
We are going to get our discuss on. Because as I said, we got some stuff to talk about, folks.
That's
now,
right.
For those of you who are not familiar, we have two people who are doing their own podcast individually. I started doing my podcast, which is called Get Off My Lawn. It is an audio podcast that I started late March to basically discuss some of the things that was on my mind. Because being a person of a particular age, I basically got to a point where it's like I got a lot to say about some things. And I kind of would like to let that opinion be known to folks and kind of get some back and forth as to what you think about what I'm thinking.
All right.
So Get Off My Lawn was made because I started to think like, dang, I'm starting to be one of them old men that chase the kids all day long. Get off my lawn, kid. Get out of here. You don't know nothing about this.
All right.
So I went there with it. What about you, cuz? How'd yours start?
Well, mine started out, I was doing a radio show called with Four or More Radio back about almost 2 years ago. And it was a Christian broadcasting radio station. And I basically went in to be a host, have my own show. And as I learned how to do and what to do, I found that Facebook Live was actually, that's where I started doing my Bible study at online before I got with the radio station. And as I started going with her, I realized that we wasn't on the same plateau of where we wanted to go with what we were doing. My plateau was basically with the Facebook Live people, but I learned to go on Spreaker.com and set up my own account and do all that stuff. And so I said, well, why not go ahead and do it as a podcast? And so God opened up the doors, and here I am. But I love teaching the Word of God, number one. And I think we as young people. Well, I'm not young anymore because I'm a few years older than Eric, but I'm not as young as I used to be.
We are not old.
We are not old, but we are. The Bible tells the older women to teach the young women, and the men are supposed to teach the men. And so, and we're supposed to be examples to the people out there in the world. And so that's where God has me doing. And he opened up the door for me to be able to teach. And so that's what I'm doing. And I love it. And, you know, it's a lot of people have a lot of opinions and everything, but it goes back to what does the word of God say? And so I'm not going to bore you because God's word isn't boring, but I'm not going to bore you with all the Christianity side of this. I will throw in what God has to say when I feel the need to. But right now we're talking about hot topics and controversial issues that are going on in this world right now. So you tell us.
Absolutely.
We can get started anytime you get ready. We got a lot to discuss.
Yes, so, okay, family, let's get to it.
And we want you all out there that are listening. We want everyone that's out there listening to please add your comments. We'll be discussing them. If you have something you want to say, keep it pleasurable. We don't want any disrespect or anything, but you're allowed to give your opinion and we can talk about it.
Absolutely. And I see a couple people joined us already. Mm-hmm. Shout out to you, Shauna, former classmate of mine, Eastern Michigan University. Go EMU. And shout out to Hugh Lee, one of my former co-workers. What's up, Hugh? How's it going? Check us out. Okay, our first topic we're going to get to is the Breonna Taylor situation as it stands right now. Now, I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with what's going on with that, but just in case you're not, Breonna Taylor was a young lady who was sleeping in her home after a hard day's work one night, and the police, doing a no-knock warrant, which is basically where they can just bust in your crib as they please and do whatever they need to do, bust up in her house and shot and killed her. Now, of course, it's slightly more complicated from the standpoint of her significant other at the time was home with her. And, of course, when the police bust up in the house, him not knowing that they were police and, in fact, thought they were intruders, decided to protect themselves and shot back at the intruders. Right. But, of course, as we all know, that is not what really happened.
Right.
Because these police set up the no-knock, no search warrant on a house, and Breonna Taylor really didn't have anything to do with it at all. Mm-hmm. They were in the wrong place.
Right.
And the other things that we don't know about this situation has not really come to light because, of course, they decide that they're going to go behind the scenes and do a grand jury and determine that these officers did not commit the crime that they actually committed.
Right.
Because bottom line is, I'm here, my cousin's here, Breonna Taylor is not with us.
Right.
Somebody killed her.
Amen.
Somebody did it, and somebody should be attorneys for that.
Right.
And right now, all we got is justice for the walls behind Breonna Taylor that got shot. And that person, the one person out of the three officers that charged up in her house was charged with that.
Right.
Not for killing her.
Yeah, that's
true.
So, of
course, when that was announced last week, and I don't know about you, but I do not like the way that was all set up, where, okay, they knew something bad was going to happen. So, of course, they have the civil settlement. The civil settlement of $12 million to admit the wrongdoing by the city of Louisville.
Right.
You don't pay $12 million if you didn't do nothing wrong.
Ain't that the truth?
But yet then, days later, here comes the Attorney General, and I'll let you get on that part of it, cuz.
Well,
about how
go ahead.
No crime was majorly committed by these officers. They were within their rights to shoot up that person's house. Now, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that go on with that. Go on with it, cuz.
Well, my thing with that is, first of all, you got to know who this Attorney General is. The Attorney General's already Mitch McConnell's married to Mitch McConnell's niece, so there's family relation already there, and he was just on the RNC, a few nights even before I think it was a week before he was on the RNC already choosing a side in a sense. He's already choosing to be on the Republican RNC. And he didn't even think enough to say, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be a part of this because I know there's going to be a big situation going on behind this ruling. And it just makes it look twice as bad. And he's already, and the problem that I have about this particular person, I don't know him. I don't know anything about him. But I know what he says. It sounds like he's just getting paid to do what he wants to do. And as far as Breonna Taylor, I feel like that they just like you said, when you said that they paid them all this money up front, if they didn't feel like that she had that they had rights to stand on, and that they were going to be telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth, why would they go ahead and pay her family? I'm sorry, not her, but her family, $12 million. The most, get it, the most money that any black person has ever received as a payback for a death in this United States of America so far.
And think about that for a minute, people. Let that just marinate and sink in.
Let it marinate.
For many of us who have been killed for a variety of foolish and basically unlawful reasons.
Right.
Over the last 200-300 years.
It's really sad.
Right. So here's the thing. Of course, when they announced this verdict, we was pissed.
Mm-hmm.
We were not happy, people, nor should we have been, because they killed this child. You know that it happened. And in the end, nobody is charged with her murder whatsoever. So, of course, in Louisville, they wasn't happy. Heck, here in Detroit, they weren't happy. In the United States, they were not happy.
Right.
Because that is not justice. And as you know, based on George Floyd and Arbery and everybody else in the last several weeks who have lost their lives foolishly in the hands of the police or people of a different race for whatever reason, we're not having it no more.
Right.
So, of course, there were mad protests all across the country. And in that, it was determined, okay, maybe we should try to do something to make sure this don't happen.
Don't keep happening.
No further.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we're going to release all the documents that led us to come to these conclusions so that you yourself can see why we came to the conclusion that we did.
Right.
Even though, based on the initial facts that we have, I don't see how you came to that conclusion when we see what it is.
Amen.
And of course, now today it was announced that the Attorney General that we speak of, the guy that's married to Mitch McConnell's family, Mitch McConnell is the majority leader of the Senate, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, we need
by the way,
discuss him briefly later on in regards to something else. We'll get there. But the problem is that they have decided, no, let us take another week now before we release all this information, because we need to redact a few of the things that's in this report. Now, for those who are familiar with redaction, remember the Mueller report? Back when we were dealing with the whole impeachment thing?
Remember.
And in that report, a lot of things had to be redacted and put out play. Now, like I said, and that's just a big, complicated word. What that simply means is this. You're going to get a document, okay? It's going to be like this. It will be the usual stuff that was in there. Then, when they get to certain names and places and faces, they'll be scratched out like this. So you can read what was really on the original document. Now, if you're trying to fear the people that there was no cover-up, why would you literally take out documents that will show a cover-up?
Right.
Now, like I said, in the government understanding that we were given for the Mueller report was because, okay, national security would be at stake if certain things were put out into the public. I kind of get that. But in this particular case, I don't think anything of national security would be an issue. And if it should be very, very few things.
It's not an issue. It's not an issue because when you the redaction basically is just telling you this witness and that witness, and we don't what this witness said and what that one said and all that. So I would have a big problem with questioning. I'd want to question who said what, when they said it, what was their first initial saying. Why is there a redaction in a criminal case anyway? If you're putting all the information out for everyone to see, there shouldn't be anything. It's cut and dry. You went into her apartment. You went in with the no-knock warrant. You decided to shoot at, they proved that they proven that she was shot how many ever times it was, which I don't know if they really have any proof on that yet.
Right. I believe they reported 8, but again, they're already showing that there are discrepancies between
there you go.
the coroner's report and what they initially put as the amount of shots.
Right.
And again, here's the thing: if it's 8 shots, where those 8 shots hit, that's kind of important. If there were 8 shots to the head, don't you think that would be looked on a little differently? If it was just 8 shots and like a leg and one here, one here.
Right.
Again, another thing in the report I would want to see is, okay, it was 8 shots. Did all 3 officers that come into the building shoot her? Did all 8 shots go in and out? All these things, because the way you kill somebody is just as bad as killing them in and of itself.
Right. Well,
what kind of guns were used? Were they police mandated guns, or were they like the you know how some police officers use their own weapons on the job? Yes, it happens.
Well, see, that's where there's been some discrepancy too, and I'm wondering, that's why this thing needs to really be exposed, because I have heard in one report that I was listening to said that the police officer was missing for an hour or so. Okay, so where is this weapon that they said hit that officer? They already done said that it was not Mr. What's his name? Jefferson, the boyfriend.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they said the boyfriend's weapon was not the one that actually shot that officer in the leg. So now they're looking for, well, his weapon didn't match, the police's weapon didn't match. What happened to that? What happened when that officer left the scene to leave for? He was missing for over an hour, right at an hour time frame. If that's the case, and you know, we can say, oh, well, they use just the weapons that they're given. I don't know that is truth. None of us do. Because you could really literally go and get your own weapon, buy your own weapon to decide, hey, I'll just put the police weapon to the side, but I want to use mine if something happens. We don't know this. And they're not leaving it. They're leaving it open because of the deductions and the not telling the whole truth. Then they leave that open for all of us to think what we want.
Exactly.
You know.
Right. And right now, my thinking is, you guys are covering some stuff up.
Yes.
And you're doing it for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, there is a person who I talk to who feels like the family got $12 million. That should be justice enough. They got the money, they'll be straight. To that person, and I'm not going to put you out there, family, but you know who I'm talking about. $12 million does not make up for a life.
Right.
A life of someone who is not even 30 years old. You don't know what that person was going to accomplish in this life. You don't know how many children they would have had, what their children would have accomplished in this life, and so on and so forth.
Amen.
You do not know to what extent their death is hurting each individual family member. You would assume that her mama and father is hurt beyond compare, but we don't know her whole life. We don't know how close she was to her cousin.
Right.
Right.
You don't know.
Or her neighborhood or community, what have you. Her death may affect them in ways that go far beyond monetary thought.
Right.
I myself don't have any children, but that being said, $12 million would not be enough for me.
Right.
I can understand why the family may have settled for that because, you done seen how this played out more times than not. You feel like you should get something out the deal, but that don't mean you give up on justice.
Right.
Especially now, when if there's any time on planet Earth in the United States that a black person can get justice for being wrongly accused or wrongly dealt with, it is now.
Right.
During this time where everybody's showing we ain't necessarily
all this stuff going on. Right. All this other stuff going on. You've had murder after murder. We could name murders. We can name police brutalities and murders of unarmed black people that have been murdered in the last 10 years. And it's really sad, but the names just keep filling up and filling up and filling up. And then they expect people not to get angry, not to get upset, or think there's some type of truth. If you can look back on all the only one I can remember that I can really think of that really is getting probably some problem was those 9 black people in the church, Dylan Roof. But even at that,
yes.
Remember if we want to talk about it and go into another section, remember Malbo, or whatever, the shootings here in Virginia a few years back, the Jamaican guy and his stepdad, they've already been put to death. And you know what I'm saying? The dad was put to death like that. Here we got Dylan Roof and different people that have made that have done these things that don't get. They're never put to prison. They never go to jail. They're written off as life is good for you now. Or you got the people that have done some time, but they set in life sentences or set in prison. The girl that went into the apartment, the officer that went into the apartment of the young black man in whatever state it was and killed him, talked about she was on the wrong floor in the wrong apartment. And come on now. And they saw nothing.
And he died at home in his
own house.
Eating ice cream.
Thank you.
One of the more innocent things you probably could do at the house is sitting there eating ice cream.
Right.
And that person rode up into his house and killed him.
Mm-hmm.
In his house.
In his house.
I said, and then it goes on and on. We all on Facebook all the time. Every day you'll scroll through and see another incident. Rochester, New York, Kenosha, Wisconsin. Minnesota. Mm-hmm. They go on and on.
All the time.
Ridiculous.
All the time. And
the only thing that makes it worse now is that because people know that when these things happen, somebody's recording. Because you better believe, if I see a crime going down against somebody black by the police or anybody really, yeah, it's showtime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And people like to justify, well, we don't know what happened before, or well, it was told. I remember hearing Breonna's case the very first time it came in and I remember sitting there hearing it, and somebody in the office, wonder what she did. Already got their mind set on all of that. Well, I heard it was a drug dealer. I heard this and I heard that. You're putting speculation out there. You haven't even heard anything yet, really. You just heard the initial thing. So just because she was black and just because she was what am I trying to say? It was a police type of shooting. We're just automatically assuming that the police is right in their situation. I'm struggling with this Blue Lives Matter type of issue, and I'm not going to go there 100 on this because but my thing is blue lives is a job. It's a job that you went into to have. I did not ask to be born black. You know what I'm saying? We were black because that's the way God made us. So there's no choices between blue lives. All lives do matter. Yes, I will always say that. All lives matter. But we have a problem when we say Black Lives Matter. Why is that? Why is that? And I don't want to go off topic. But I wanted to share that because it's a very important factor in why it's easy for people to assume because we're black people, there's something automatically was wrong that person did. Instead of hearing the whole story and realizing we do have crooked cops out here. There are crooked people that are in jobs that they don't have no business doing. You don't know how to de-escalate a situation.
Let me just say that's not just the police. And yes, there are a lot of good officers out there.
Exactly.
A few of them that who will probably listen to this podcast. Shout out to you guys. Stan Mason in particular. What's up, guy?
Yes.
But in the same token, there are bad apples in all these different walks of life.
Exactly.
And right now, they're being addressed. In this age of 2020, where we can take our phone or listen to anybody, what have you, and put it on out there. So, unlike before when these things would happen and nobody knew nothing because there was no evidence of it, it's right here live and direct now.
Right.
So, ain't no getting away with it like you did before.
Right.
Now you have to try to justify why you did this foolishness. And guess what? There is no justification.
There is no justification. There really isn't. I mean, and the thing about it, and I'm going to bring a little bit of word in there on that, because the thing about it is God made all of us, and He made all of us equal. That was His divine calling for all of us to be equal. Now we as in human beings have a right to think the way we do, because God is a God of mercy, grace. He allows us to have our own free will and things like that. But when you take your free will and push your free will off on somebody else, then you become wrong. And so when I say that, I'm saying when you take how you feel about a race of people or you feel about a certain way and you push it off by your actions on someone else, and then they have to reap the repercussions of the way you feel, then you have become wrong. It becomes a sin. You see what I'm saying? And we want to talk about justifying. We can't justify the things that are wrong spiritually, because when it's all said and done, it comes from the heart and what our heart is and how crooked our heart is, or how we treat people, and for them to want to come together to and again, like you said, shout out to all the blue lives, all of them, black suits, whatever they wearing in whatever states you in. I don't think the police should be defunded for. This is my personal opinion, and it may not be what you think, but I don't necessarily feel like the police needs to be defunded because they want to take them away out of the cities. That's not what they want it defunded for. Now, I think that it should be defunded in the way of taking that money and instead of putting it in jails and prisons and all that, let's put it into rehabilitation. Let's put it into housing in the communities. Let's put it into the schooling for the children and things like that. If you start looking at what we can do on the positive end instead of how we can once they get caught up in drugs, let's see how we can take them down. How about dealing with the fact of the drug being the problem and the people that are pushing it? Let's get them rehabilitated in their actions and give them something positive so that they will be a positiveness to the next generation. And let's change some of these things in our cities, and I know we're off topic, so let me bounce back. Go ahead.
That's okay. I'm going to briefly go there with you. My whole thing is I'm not necessarily saying defund the police. I am definitely saying, though, retrain the police.
Retrain.
Because clearly there is an issue
with
how police are done in certain instances, and it's coming to light now.
Yes.
So clearly we have a problem with how it is set up. How it's set up in terms of how certain things are seemingly assumed when you pull over a person of color, how certain things are dealt with once that process goes into place and that person then is put in the system, and how they can have a crime and the person who is not of color have a crime. That person who is not of color gets charged, basically slap on the wrist.
Right.
And the person of color does 10 to 20 hard.
Mm-hmm.
There are two different Americas when it comes to that.
Yeah, two different Americas. Two different Americas, two different justice systems, two different ways of living, two different ways. And I have a problem. I mean, I struggle with this within our families a lot of times, where you have, and shout out to the family, I don't mean anything disrespectful, but you have families that marry into the other race and then feel like that it doesn't how do I want to put it? It doesn't affect them the same way. But my thing is, if you have children that have an ounce of black in them, they're black, and you have to worry about the reality is, I sit up at night sometimes, even as a woman of God, and really, I don't want to say I worry, because worrying is a sin. I try not to really worry and put my children in the hands of God. But the reality is, I worry. I do think, I'll say it like that. I think about my black grandchildren, my black grandsons that are being born and brought up in this world, and my black sons that are out, my black son that's out there, and some of the foster children that I've raised, because they already got strikes against them already just for being black. And people don't understand that. Some of my white friends and my white colleagues and things like that don't necessarily understand that this is a reality to the way we feel. I'm sure when you go riding down the streets of Detroit and you see a police car coming in behind you, your feelings changes automatically. Like, you go into a fear mode to some degree. What am I getting stopped for? And people can sit and say, well, if you just do what the police say, this and that won't happen. I have seen on camera where people have done what the police said and they still have been beaten and things like that. So why are the police, pushing their authority on people to that degree where as soon as, if I'm being yelled at, screamed at, it's just like a child when you think about it. If you yell, I know you said you weren't a father, but if you yell and scream at your child, and then you know, to the point where they're just like, oh my God, I don't know what to do, you know, and they start getting fearful inside of them. They're fearful now. So they don't necessarily aren't able to comprehend what you're telling them to do. If you're beating a person with a what's that club called? Those police club? If you beating somebody with a billy club and telling them to stay still all at the same time, that's impossible. That's impossible. Because the first thing you're going to do is try to keep them from beating you to. So it's impossible. So why?
That's your natural instinct.
It's your natural instinct. So why do you feel like that they're coming up against the police because they're not doing what they're told, but yet you got one police that may get it under control and you settle down, and here comes another couple of them coming from other angles, and next thing you know, they coming in beating. How is that considered? And they're already down and what do you call it when they got them down and they're already subdued? They're already subdued. Yeah. So why are we bringing in all that extra anger and why are we still beating and why are we still, I'm going to say, you know what I'm saying? Why is that? Mm-hmm. And nobody talks about that. That is brutality at its finest.
Right. And like I said, I don't know how it is in your neck of the woods, but my thing is always when they pull over some of these traffic stops for whatever reason, mm-hmm. It may start out with just the one car and the one police car. Mm-hmm. But then suddenly, out the blue, here's 3 or 4 other cars. And I'm sure at this point, you let people know there's only 1 or 2 people in this car. Why do you need all these extra officers
right.
to contend with that?
I remember going through that.
Technical reason why that is, but it don't seem to make no sense to me.
I remember going through that. I'm going to tell you a quick story, and then we can probably jump on to whatever. But I was in Washington State one time. Well, it's happened mm-hmm. twice. It's happened in Texas too. I was in Washington State one time. I was on the highway coming into the Tacoma area and got pulled over. I was speeding, probably like 5 or 7 miles over. Not no big deal. Cars were steady passing me, but I knew I was still over the speed limit. So I get pulled over and I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting pulled over. Next thing you know, the policeman comes in. He's automatically rude to me, just nasty. He said, do you know why you're getting stopped? I said, actually, yeah, probably I was speeding a little bit. I said, maybe 5 or 7 miles over, you know. You think that's funny? I wasn't even laughing because I'm scared, really. I'm really scared. And so I'm like, no, I'm not laughing. I'm just saying, you can go ahead and give me a ticket and let's just move this on along. Give me my ticket. I'll pay it in the court, whatever. This cop made me get out the car, pulled me over made me get out the car, pulled me over, pushed me up against and I'm like, am I being arrested or whatever? He's like, you need to go in there and get your license and drive. Now it seems like you would have came up, asked for my driver's license and all that first thing. That's usually how it goes. But you went a roundabout, got me frustrated, scared to death. Now by this time I'm angry because you coming at me like crazy. And then on top of that, next thing you know, here comes another car up, here comes another. And I'm thinking, what in the world's going on? All they ended up giving me was the ticket for the speeding, which was back then was like $115. I paid the $115, boom. But why did it take all of that? 3 cop cars extra for no reason. Wow. I wasn't being angry. I wasn't fighting. I had my child in the car, nothing. But that's how they come off with me. Another time in Texas, I got pulled over for passing a little white line. They said about an inch. My front tire hit the white line. Cop asked me, I had just got a brand new truck, a 2013 brand new Dodge Ram truck. Pretty. Just got it outside the building where they drive it, that. They turned around, stopped me for that, and then turned around when I got pulled over. I'm like, first thing he asked me, is this your truck? I'm driving it. How could you afford that truck? Well, you got a job? That's what the cop is saying to me. And I'm like, I'm working a GS government position, done retired from the Army, working a GS government position, a GS-9 at the time. And I'm an instructor out at the military base. Okay? So now you questioning who I am and what I am. Not saying it's all that. It wasn't. But I'm saying, what makes you think because you pull me over, I can't afford what I'm driving? So I show him all the new receipts of what, and he's still like, well, I don't know. I mean, I have that's a very nice truck, as though I can't afford to drive something nice. It was just a really just nasty. And it's no reason for it. I mean, and this is for you officers out there. Really, when you stop somebody, the first thing you should be doing is de-escalating and making sure that you're not coming in there with a robust, I'm here to get you, we going down. Instead of being loving, the Bible says, love and kindness have I drawn thee. Now, I'm not talking to you all on a spiritual realm today, but I'm still saying with love and kindness, you get more sweet. What is that? What the old folks used to say, if you get more
flies with honey.
Flies with honey. You get more flies with honey. So why do you got to go up and act like that? Everybody's not going to fight the police. Everybody's not going to act like that. So why do we assume because we pull over a certain race of people that we got to go down like that? It doesn't make sense to me. I know I done really went off subject. Please forgive me. Please forgive me.
It's okay, cuz. Okay, couple things. Like I said, we as people of color, pretty much anybody of adult age, you have that story to tell somewhere in your life and times about how the police pulled you over and then boom, boom, boom. We all had that story. Mm-hmm. I've told mine on my podcast. I'm not even going to waste our time with it today. But nonetheless, we're about to move on to another story. Before we do that, shout out to our family members who are people who are in the military or were in the military. What I've learned about us Buckner children, a lot of us did serve. My father, he was a Vietnam vet, well as several of my uncles. Mm-hmm. And there's also people on my mother's side who are military. Shout out to you guys as well. Thank you for what you've done to protect us and keep us safe.
Amen. Thank you.
Now,
You're welcome.
We're about to go for our next topic. And our next topic is we're going to address specific people that are part of this whole political issue. Mm-hmm. These are the people who are religious people, but when it comes to politics, suddenly their religion is a little different. My cousin has a name for these people. Tell them about this, cuz. Tell them. I call
them the evangelical Pharisees. The new Pharisees.
Say it again for people in the back.
The evangelical Pharisees, the new Pharisees. That's what they're called.
Once you broke this down to me, it made so much sense, and I completely agree. Tell them what this all means.
Okay, to me, this is my own term because first of all, I've never seen.
Okay, hold on, cuz. Before you get into it, let me just say this: we are on Facebook Live right now, doing What the Bucks. I am Eric Buckner. This is my cousin Marla, formerly Buckner, but now Facey. Mm-hmm. Shout out to the hood.
All right.
We are doing our show right now live, and we are discussing our topics. We're about to get into one, but I do want to say to everybody, there is comment section. By all means, you have comments, or you want to add your little 2 cents into what we're saying. By all means, your comments are welcome. Keep it respectful, though. As you see, we're not using any profanity here.
That's right.
We are trying to keep it to where it's PG for everybody.
Amen.
So, by all means, chime in. And as we go on the conversation, we're going to address some of the things that you guys are saying as well. Okay, now back to the topic. Go ahead, cuz.
Okay, so for me, I have never seen, and some of my Christian friends, if I am wrong, please correct me, please. But I have never seen in the Bible anything that have ever spoken of the word evangelicals. That is a new phrase and term that people have used for a certain type of church group. But that's not biblical, number one. And secondly, when I say the word Pharisees, y'all that have know anything about the word, know that the Pharisee people back in the Bible were people that thought that they were better than other people. They wouldn't heal anybody or take care of anybody on the Sabbath because that was extra work. So, as a Christian, if I want to run across Eric down the street and he's not my cousin, but I just run across Eric down the street and Eric needs a hand, even if it's on Sunday or Saturday, whatever your Sabbath is, I should still be able to help him because I'm a Christian and he's a person that needs help. So we got those kind of people that are willing, that won't go outside of doing something that's that because they need to be in church, they will walk past the person that needs. So I call them, those are what they call Pharisees in the Bible. So when we talk about Pharisees, those are people that have all these religious morals, no killing of people, and I mean the Ten Commandment people, which is okay because the Ten Commandments still stand. So nothing's wrong with the Ten Commandments, but we want to take certain commandments and be okay with those, and then we want to take other commandments and throw them out the door. Okay, and so when I say they're evangelical Pharisees, I'm talking about this new way of thinking, or this way of thinking. It ain't new because the Pharisees back in the Bible were doing it. But we want to take these things and we want to say, oh, I'm going to give a reason why someone should have been killed, or it's okay because that person was a drug addict. So it was okay that they got killed, but yet, or if that person down the street was having a fight with their girlfriend and the police came in and shot them all up or shot them up, well, there was a reason behind that. So it's okay that they got shot. But yet we're against the unborn child, the abortion issue. Now, I'm a Christian. I am against abortion. But if it takes me having to decide whether my child has her baby or my child has to get an abortion because having the baby is going to cause her to have a life problem, then I'm going to choose my life of a living child already. So you can shout, you can beat me up, you can talk to me later, whatever the case is. But we sometimes think because a person has an abortion, they're damned to hell. Okay? But yet the person that killed somebody or just beat up somebody to senselessness, that's okay. And so that's what I'm talking about, the Pharisees. You have the hypocrisy that's in all of that. The hypocrisy of saying that you are against this, but yet this is okay. You can take it away, Eric. What you got to say about it?
Well, see, here's the thing. Because you don't even have to be a person who attends regular church to understand what my cousin is saying. Mm-hmm. What she's basically saying is that there are people out here, and according to what we're supposed to understand about the Democratic and Republican parties, the Republican conservative part of the party are the Bible thumpers, the Bible Belt people, the ones who feel like, okay, any law that has anything outside of the realm of the Ten Commandments is automatically wrong, plain and simple. Mm-hmm. And that is what they choose to believe in terms of how they should deal with their politics. Mm-hmm. But in the same token, that person who is also conservative and Christian in God will turn around when it comes to things like the Black Lives Matter movement and see that completely differently. Right. They'll look at that as, oh, but no, that applies for us Christians who are white, or that applies to us Christians who are just Catholic or Protestant or what have you. Mm-hmm. That doesn't apply to this situation. That's way different. Right. What my cousin, I feel, is saying is that God is God every day. God all day. Is God all day. That's right. Just for the white people. It's not like back in Greek mythology where there was the god of corn and the god of rain. There's only one God. One God. He died for us all. Amen. And Amen. He died for good, bad, the ugly, and otherwise. That's not right. Just for what fits your little box of what you think the religion should be. Right. Or you got the every day, not just Sunday and Wednesday during Bible service. Amen. And just like and the other issue would be your gay and lesbians and your LGBT, all that, 2Q, all that. I don't know and no disrespect, I just don't know all of them. But what I'm saying is I may personally have my own opinion about that lifestyle, but I'm not God. I don't stand in judgment of anybody. Because that's something I don't necessarily agree with for my life, and I know in the Word of God has some specific details of how you should be and how you shouldn't be, but I'm still not God. And so for me to sit and say that those people don't have the same rights as
Joe Blow down the street that thinks he's so straight. You know what I'm saying? You know, you got to eat and drink from the same thing. You know, that person still needs food. That person still needs to have a way of life, to be able to have a job and stuff. So when we set up and we start saying that this person's better than that person because that person's living this life and that person's not, who are we to judge? You know, my son has a saying on his tattoo thingy, only God judge me. Only God can judge me. And the thing about it is,
shout out to Tupac Shakur.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's where he got it from. So, but the thing about it is, you know, if you say that you love God, if you are a true Christian and you say you love God, then that means you love God's people, which doesn't mean just Christian people or people that say that they're Christian. That means you love humanity. You love the human races of all people. So therefore, if you say that you love people, then how is it that you can have such a hypocrisy, however you would say that word, attitude towards other people? I mean, it really burns me up to think that my gay cousin or friend or whoever it is can't go and get an apartment, or can't go and do, can't go and marry. I may not agree with it, but guess what? That's between God in the judgment, between God and them. It has nothing to do with me. The only thing that I'm responsible for is to tell the person about God's love for humanity, God's love, and pray and continue to pray for that person, that they see the light as God would have them see it, not how I would want them to see it, because what I want for them ain't necessarily what's going to take them to heaven or hell. It's something that I would want to see. But when we start praying for people as though that they see the way God would want them to live their life, and ask God to change their hearts and their minds and change me on how I view them. I should view everybody through the eyes of God. That means I should love you no matter what you do. But a Pharisee, they don't do that. A Pharisee sees them only the way they think God wants to, the way God says. Just think about the woman at the well, and God said, well, woman, where are your accusers? You without a sin cast the first stone. We all sin. And so when we start thinking that your sin because you're this, and your sin because you're that, and your sin because you this, and because I don't steal, but you stole $500, but I stole $5, well, is it different to God? Stealing. And so that's what I'm talking about. That
right.
That's right. It's no gray line in between there. It is right and wrong. And if you choose to do right, then you're going to do right according to, you can't look at Mr. Trump and think the way Mr. Trump is doing and what Mr. Trump is throwing out there is necessarily right if you're following the word of God. So I don't see, and I know that we can set up and say, well, one person, we can set up and say Biden is not godly because he's did some things. Well, none of us are totally godly. We've all done something wrong. But when you look at the pick and who's throwing out the most venom that's against this, then that's what you need to be able to make a sound decision on. It really is. Who is your best candidate for the position to lead all of the people, not just a portion of the people that are on that person's side? And so that's why I talk about the evangelicals.
I'm glad you went there, because that's going to go into our next topic. But let me say a couple things. One, you said we weren't going to use no foul language. Did I say something? Stop saying that T word. That T word is a bad word.
Oh, okay. I was like, "Oh Lord, did I say something?"
No, because you know how I feel about that individual.
Well, I guess I'll say 45.
He's not a respectful individual, so I in turn will not give him the respect of saying his name out loud. Okay, I'll try. Saying his name like saying Candyman in the mirror 3 times. Okay, I'm not gonna do it. Okay, I'll try. Not gonna do that. I'll try to say 45 or just 4 or something. Yeah, that works.
The other man, I refer
to him as the leader or clown, even though clown is a bit disrespectful. So
yeah, I saw that.
Nice. I'll go with leader.
I saw that. I saw some of the people that said that they were clowns in the circus that went on CNN. You know, was talking to Don Lemon on his or one of them on their thing, and they said a clown is very disrespectful.
Some of these comments that I saw on Facebook last night was hilarious.
Yes, yes.
Some of y'all are some real comedians. It's like y'all took the ball and ran with it. Oh my God.
Yes.
And then there's this one meme about when Joe told him to shut up. Okay, we're not about to get into that right now. We're gonna talk about that later. That's gonna be our last topic. I got a whole bunch.
We got to discuss. We got memes. We got memes that we gonna be. Okay.
We got a whole bunch to get into that. Okay, our next topic, which we briefly touched on just a little bit earlier, is talking about voting. Because yes, I am a huge proponent of the fact that you need to vote, and we're gonna discuss why. And once and for all, I need y'all to understand it needs to happen.
Yes.
There are people out here
hurting
that are trying to suppress your vote.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you to vote. They want you to think the same things that some of you guys are thinking now about it. Yeah, my vote don't count. Yeah, it don't matter. Ain't no sense of me wasting my time doing that. It's gonna be the same mess anyway. You need to understand
how the
government works.
Talk about it. But
let me explain something to you. When you go to vote, okay, you're going to go in there, whether it be directly or through the mail, absentee ballot, what have you. They're going to hand you your ballot, okay? Let's just say this is going to be your ballot. Now, most of these people who say, no, I'm not going to bother to vote because it does not matter who this person is. If you can read that, people, that says the president. Mm-hmm. They said that it does not matter who the president is. In the end, he gonna do what he gonna do anyway. Here I am to tell you that yes, it does matter who the president is. You know why, people? Because as I have discussed in my podcast, the audio won't get off my lawn, check it out. I'm gonna tell you again now. The reason why it is important who the president is because he is the perceived leader of our country.
Right.
He is in essence our spokesperson, our mouthpiece. So when we send that person out to other countries or our broadcast go out to other countries, yeah, they may look into what we're doing in other aspects of it. The main thing that's going to be in the news in regards to America is what the president said that day, or what the president did that day, or what the president goes that day, or what he addresses and what he doesn't address. So let's just say you have something called, I don't know, a pandemic going on right now. And the person who is in charge, the leader, determines that, I'm not going to address that so much right now because it's not really that big a deal. 7.2 million people being infected last I checked in the United States alone, mind you. Yeah. That's not that big a deal. Yeah. Over 205,000 and counting.
240,000.
Less than 8 months. That's not that big a deal. It is what it is. When you have your leader say it is what it is about over 200,000 people dying, that is an issue.
Or take bleach. Take bleach and put it in your system. Oh, yeah. When you were a child,
that'll solve it.
When you were a child, we put disinfectants and bleach and things like that up away from our children so that our children wouldn't digest those things because we know it will kill them in seconds. Why would someone in the...
like I said, and I know it's people, as soon as they see this part, they're going to flip off the podcast and they tired of me talking about COVID. Have a good night, y'all. It's here.
It's here.
We have to accept that fact. Until we come with a viable cure or a viable vaccine, we have to deal with it. It's a part of your life in some way, shape, or form almost every day, whether you want it to be or not. I'm here at the house most of the time, but yet COVID still affects what I do and what I don't do at this point.
Right.
It is what it is in terms of that, but in terms of it being something that's not dangerous to people, that's not killing people, again, we don't even know the long-term effects of these things. How many of you out here at some point felt like you may have had the COVID, but because early on, there was no testing, even though, remember, early on it was said, everyone who wants a test will get a test.
No. Wait a minute. Even earlier than that, he found out earlier than he even said that. That was in the country back in December, and no one knew that those people that it was even being brought over. And I,
he said that in one of his briefings in January, he was briefed on the possibility that it exists and it may head this way. Even then, but when you ask him about it, I don't remember all that. Well, it's certainly funny that the people that work for you do.
Right. Or that we have a tape, or that we have a tape of him saying that he knew about it.
You forgot to talk to your buddy Bob.
Yeah.
You forgot to talk to Mr. Woodward.
Mr. Woodward, you forgot to talk to Woodward and find out exactly what he was going to be putting in that book.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing with COVID as well too is that when people assume because you're young that you ain't getting it. I heard one young lady that got COVID, and I know her personally. She got on and she got on her Facebook and talked about how COVID, she got it, but she was one of the lucky ones to not have she got sick, but not real bad and things like that. But you're in your 30s, but the problem with that is not so much, yes, we give God glory that you didn't get sicker and you didn't die and all that, but they are finding that young children are dying in the schools now, that are going back to school, and there's already some deaths going on there. It's not
right. Because keep in mind, there has been an increase in spread
these
last few weeks, and primarily the people that are coming up positive for COVID-19 are people between the ages of 20 and 39. And there is a significant amount of people under the age of 18 that are coming up positive for COVID-19 since school started. Because remember, some schools are doing virtual, but some schools are doing in-class learning. And some of those same schools turn around 2 weeks later and have to shut the whole school down because of several positive cases of COVID-19.
Hey, I need to flip my light on.
That all goes back to the original subject, the leader, because he comes on TV in the task force meetings and tell you, yes, we need to go open back up the economy. We need to go back to school. We need to do all these things, knowing because he has all the experts around him and they're telling him constantly what's going on in regards to the virus, that these things are dangerous to people and they need to regard them more than they have.
No, I'm getting ready to flip my light on. It's getting dark.
Understood.
Hold on 1 second.
All right.
I'm sorry because I'm in my.
You okay?
There we go. Sorry about that. Not
a problem.
It's going to start to get dark outside. Our time zone. You know what I'm saying?
Understood.
So
understood.
So that whole thing with COVID, I'm just really I have a daughter that has had open heart surgery, and she has Down syndrome, and she's high risk. So we just got a note in our mailbox from school saying that they're getting ready to force them to go back to school on November the 9th. And we can choose. I guess we can choose the difference, but I'm not choosing for her to go back to school. I'm not going to do it because her life is more important, and we're not until they find a cure that we can trust, that we can even trust we can't right now. We are in such a disarray. We can't even trust the government to tell us the right thing to even believe that they got a real cure.
Right. And why that is because the leader and the trickle down effect from what the leader has said that goes into the other part of it.
Right.
And keep in mind, the other thing about why it matters who is in charge, because that person is also seen as the perceived leader of the party who he represents.
Right.
Because, yes, in the ideal world, we need to get rid of this party system as it's presently set up, this Republican-Democrat thing.
Amen.
Because if we do that resolves some of these issues that some of you have with voting. Because you don't necessarily agree with what the Democrats are saying. You don't necessarily agree with what the Republicans are saying.
Amen.
And then there's these different sectors of the party. There's the far left and right, like the leader talked about yesterday.
What is that? Okay. What is that? Like, what is that? Like, I mean, it makes no sense.
In the end, it should not matter.
Right.
Because we the people.
You,
as the president of these United States, work for we,
the people. All of us.
Salary, and yes, I understand that he's not taking a salary, but still, your
well,
budget,
see,
living in the White House, us feeding you, that's all on our dime. We're taking care of that for you.
Well, see, I'm even kind of in a different opinion than that. It was told to us that he wasn't taking a salary. Nobody has no proof of that. Just like somebody put on my podcast, on my Facebook earlier today. Well, he's given up all of his checks for the last 4 years. Is there real proof in that? I've only heard them say that he gave his check away 2 times to 2 certain organizations for something. There's no proof in that really happening. Just like he said, he paid for his whole campaign. He said he paid for his whole campaign.
The fact that we have a person who lies so much that there are certain news organizations that track them and can tell you, okay, now he's up to 15,000, 20 lies he's told around the office.
Right.
What president have we ever had where we had to question
everything,
whether or not he's being truthful with us on a daily basis?
Right. Or who always speaks about somebody else.
Again, going back to the original point, it matters who the leader is because, meanwhile, in other countries, they're seeing what's going on here.
Right.
And I know a lot of you don't look at the international news or even have any reason to check that out. But, I often check out the BBC and
watch it.
I'll look on my page and look for different news agencies and outlets in other countries. We are laughing stock.
A laughing stock.
Like I said, they see us and they hear that music in the background while all this going on. The same music that I'm sure some of y'all heard last night while y'all was watching that. How that music go? There's a whole big clown circus going on.
Yes.
And they know. And keep in mind, there's some countries, they might just act on that. Yeah, they distracted with that foolishness.
Yeah.
This is when we can get them. This is the time that we gonna strike. This is the time that we gonna catch them in some stuff that they're not ready for. Because they're too busy paying attention to that mess.
Right. Now let's talk about the down ballot. You heard me?
What was that now?
Let's talk about the down ballot. The down ballot.
Yes, like I said. All right, going back to this ballot.
Mm-hmm.
The ballot you get. President is on there, right? But that's not going to be the only thing on there. There's going to be vice president. There's going to be senator. There's going to be House of Representatives. There's going to be, in your local things, the mayor, the governor, the attorney general, secretary of state, and so on. So when you go, you vote for all these things. So because you didn't decide you don't want to vote because of this, you're missing out on all these things. Mm-hmm. And keep in mind, the president, yeah, he is the figurehead to a degree, but in the same token, when you anoint him to be president and he announces his cabinet that's in charge of various agencies and whatnot, that's his choice.
Yeah.
He gets to choose those people. So whether it's actually people that are responsible and know the job and have years of experience, or if it's, say, their family members they decide to appoint,
yeah,
because they rather listen to them and
or
be stuck with whatever they decide based on what they tell him,
or give the Surgeon General, instead of it being an actual heart surgeon doctor that was well renowned, Dr. Ben Carson, instead of giving him that job, they give him HUD. What's that supposed to mean?
Or instead of even having somebody that has any connection previously to the post office, because they were such a generous donor to your campaign. I mean, because they are a person that's loyal to
you.
What you
what you want.
Put them in charge of the post office.
They ain't even probably don't even get mail.
Exactly. But then all of a sudden they want to make all these great sweeping changes. Mm-hmm. And so then of course you want to question why the mail service might be compromised in the upcoming election.
Yeah. Or you get generals.
You have to vote because all these things matter.
That's
when
right.
it comes to your vote.
Amen.
All these positions have names, and all these positions have people, and you need to have the time to
do your research,
check them out, see if they want. Because keep in mind, take Attorney General for instance. Would you want to appoint an Attorney General who has a large record of locking up people of color, but yet very little record of people of non-color, and you put them in charge of a city or a state that's primarily people of color in
that
certain
color,
areas and
right?
not others. So then when the time comes to deal with things, well, yeah, that county, that's all white. Yeah, that's wrong. That's wrong. That county, that's mostly black. Lock them up.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wonder, where'd that come from? You didn't do your homework.
Right.
You didn't do your research on that guy. So now you got that going on for yourself. Secretary of State, Governor, there's a good one. Now,
Governors.
Here in Michigan, Governor Gretsch, love her.
Mm-hmm.
Love her. Yeah, there are some people that don't agree with some of the things that she's done.
That's everywhere.
In the midst of this pandemic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Upset because their business is not open fully and they're not making all the money. People, let me just say this. Money is important because we've made it important, okay? There's more to living this life than just getting paid.
For the love of money is the root of all evil.
I said that and I meant that. But back to the original point. We dealt with things here in Michigan in a good way overall because when this all started in the pandemic, we had some of the highest death rates in the country. We were third in the number of cases and the number of people who have died. For those of you who know, I usually post every weekday the numbers that I get based on who has died, how many people, the different countries, what have you. You look at that today, you'll notice that Michigan is now 18th on that list. Still a high number, mind you, but far less than it would have been if we had a governor who did not care about the people, who did not put the science in front of the politics and the money. Because some of those same states that didn't do that, the Texas, the Floridas of the world, you look on that list now, they had a New York, they had a New Jersey, who was 1 and 2 at the time. They have almost 1 million cases in California.
Wow.
And like I said, the thing is, yeah, they have a Democratic governor, but they have Republicans and here, and here. And in the end, it shouldn't even matter that they're Democrat or Republican. What it should matter is what type of people they are, what type of policies they're going to implement.
Right.
So when they go around to your city and say, I want to be your governor, your mayor, you need to pay attention to what they're talking about, what type of people they are. Because you never know when a pandemic might hit like this one, and they have to make vital decisions that might make or break your business, that might determine whether or not you still have a home later on. Mm-hmm. That'll determine whether or not lights or your water or gas get cut off.
Right.
Because based on how they see the situation and how they determine we should move, that determines what happens to you. So Amen. Yes, it matters who these people are as well.
It definitely does. One of the people, Tessie said, she's one of my friends on Facebook. She said that in her state in Georgia, that a lot of the children are getting the COVID, and they're neuro. I just wanted to put this out there real quick because I saw her comment. Mm-hmm. They have they're finding that they're having a lot of neurological problems, and those are just other issues that don't get put out in the public a lot. You know, of what because this person in office hasn't taken care of anything, hasn't told people to wear their mask all the time. And I know I'm jumping back real quick, so I'm just going to go on that.
No, you good.
They're not telling them the right thing. So now this stuff is coming in, and the kids are taking it to the schools, and so it's causing problems in that area. They're finding that their people are coming up with more neurological problems. We can go back to voting. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. No, like I said, you need to look at the whole ballot and determine who's in charge of what. Another thing, as you go further down your ballot here, once you get past the names and whatnot, there may be a couple of procedural or amendments that you need to vote on. Mm-hmm. Say, for instance, here in Michigan a few years ago, we finally got put on the ballot whether or not we want to legalize marijuana. Now, for many of you who basically have been proud marijuana smokers for as long as you can remember, that was something important to you because you would rather be able to do it and not have to go through all the sneaky channels that you usually would have to go through to obtain marijuana. Mm-hmm. So once they came on the ballot, you came out, and it was one of the larger turnouts that we had in the last 20 years. Not because of what was on this top of the ballot, but what was being proposed here because you wanted to make sure your marijuana got legalized.
Right.
Now, what you didn't know, because a lot of you didn't read the fine print at the time,
all right now,
is that they legalized the marijuana, true enough, but that didn't mean that you was just gonna be able to like, yeah, okay, I can smoke now. No. You're not gonna be doing that all outside, all out open like that. Well, hold on. We didn't say you could have that much marijuana. Just a little bit, okay?
Or hold on.
You can't be doing.
Or hold on, bro. Or you can't get this job still because you got it in your system.
Right, and that's still just because we legalize marijuana don't mean your corporation legalized marijuana. That doesn't mean that you can operate your vehicle high as a kite. There are some stipulations to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we let it to be on the ballot in the first place.
Right.
Not because, okay, here it is, do your thing now. No.
And I know this ain't a topic, but I wanted to go here since you brought that up. One of the things that's important for us to understand is even though they did legalize it, y'all still got to understand it was a mechanism to still keep us down where they want us to be. Because with you smoking it, they have still made it where you can't have certain jobs and mostly not no high paying job. And so with that being said, that still keeps you where you're not able to be equal to your counterparts because you still can't give up that. And they know it's a hooking system. They know that if you get hooked on that, it's that open airway to the next thing and to the next thing. And then that means there you go. They got you on lockdown now. So you have to be smarter than the system. You have to be smarter. And if it means you got to give up that marijuana, then give it up.
I always have a component of trying to do your research before you look into these things. Because another thing that is an issue now is the fact that, okay, now that we legalized it in Michigan, there still was a thing that they amended where you could opt out as your community. So in other words, if you wanted to have people be able to smoke, that's one thing. But when people wanted to actually sell it and have shops there in a particular community, they're like, oh, not so fast. We don't want that. We don't like that stuff. So, no, you can go ahead and get it and take it home with you, but you're not selling that stuff here.
Right.
You're not selling that stuff in this township, that township. And then another thing is going back again to who's on the ballot. The mayor here in Detroit, knowing that the majority of the people that voted here in Detroit wanted marijuana, he was like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and opt in. So, yeah, you can sell marijuana here in Detroit, but guess what, though? You need to be a resident of Detroit to benefit from Detroit like that.
Right.
So the majority of people that have put in applications, he considered them, and it's like, okay, if the majority of people are not people that live in the city, then, yeah, y'all going to have to put yours on the side. We're considering our people that live here first, and then we'll consider yours. But keep in mind, when we tax you for your sales here, that money's going back to the city of Detroit, not to your city, but here.
It's a catch-22 any way you look at it. It always is. And that's why when people think that, oh, this sounds good, it's just the same way as when they first legalized alcohol at one point, way back in the day. You know, that we were taxed more and all these different things, these little side things that were happening. But guess who made the money off of it the most? Guess who continues to make the money off of it? You know, and sometimes we can be so, and I'm speaking of we as in Black and brown people, we get so mixed up thinking that we're going to step ahead. We're trying to get ahead, but we still ain't really willing to do what it takes to get ahead, which is leave some of that garbage alone. You know, not only is it bad for your body, it's not bad. It's not bad for your mind. But it's not getting you ahead in the things that you want. You know, they did all these things. They allowing all this, just like I think Meech and them said on the show the other night about the prison, the prison pipeline and stuff like that. Right, but it's like the prison pipeline and all that type of stuff. It's always a gateway in. So you have to understand that just because the world looking at it like, oh yeah, it's a good thing. Don't never follow the path of where every other person's going. We need to start learning that you need to sometimes be down that road by yourself, because when you go and you just go and go with everybody else, there's a sucker at the end of the, waiting to grab you up. And we make bad choices based upon the fact that we we feel like that we want to be our own person. I'm big and I'm bad. I'm old enough to smoke some weed. I'm old enough to have my drink and all that kind of stuff. But where is it getting you? In the end of it all, who's winning? They're winning because they're the ones that supply. They're the supplier, and we're still the need. You know, and God doesn't want us to stay ignorant in those things.
Right. And keep in mind, cuz next time we hook up and do this, we definitely need to have a discussion about the haves and the have-nots.
Oh, exactly.
Because that plays a large factor into a lot of these decisions.
Yes.
But again, going back to the voting thing, like I said, it matters who you vote for. Okay, another thing. See where I got the S here for the Senate and the House? Let's go there for a minute. Right now, y'all know we're in the middle of the pandemic, and you know that a lot of us ended up losing our jobs because of that. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of us still not working right now because of that. And some of us who are working, we're not getting the hours that we were getting pre-pandemic because those hours aren't available for whatever reason. Like they didn't just reopen the gyms here in Michigan, but what they're saying is a lot of these gyms empty. Ain't nobody going. So it takes money to keep these gyms open. And yeah, you know they had an automatic pull out or whatnot, but guess what? I ain't been going no gym. I ain't about to go no gym. So yeah, as soon as I remember, I'm going to be like, okay, cancel my membership, please. I'm not going back.
Right.
But yeah, we've done this for safety. I don't care. I'm working out here now.
Sweat is sweat, right?
Right. So,
but
those people end up being in situations where they're not making money. Today, they just announced that Disney World and Disneyland are about to cut ties with 25,000 employees because they just not making money to keep it going with them right now. So all these people about to be on the books, and meanwhile, the books is not taking care of us like they were early on in the pandemic, when in the infinite wisdom of the House of Representatives and the Senate, they joined and decided, yeah, we got to get these people some help, and gave us the $600 extra. And yeah, I know amongst the community, meaning us people of there's been good and bad said about it. Yeah, everybody getting over on the 600 and whatnot, what have you. But that everybody y'all talk about, that's a small percentage of people. Okay? It really is. And y'all need to get over that.
Right.
Let that go.
And the thing about it is $600.
Whether you felt that way or not, it's not happening no more because since July 31st,
cut out.
That $600 went away. And keep in mind, the House of Representatives, the Democrats in the House of Representatives passed a bill called the HEROES Act. Look it up, people. The HEROES Act, where they have addressed everything that we're running into now. So they chose to pass a bill that would increase that amount of $600 till the end of the year. That would give us not only a second stimulus, but additional stimulus packages to the end of the year. That would help pay off some of these student loans, so we wouldn't have to worry about those post-pandemic. That would help pay off some of the bill collectors, so they won't be on you like that. To pay some of the landlords, so they won't be trying to throw you out the house. They addressed a lot of these things. That's why that particular bill is $3 trillion. It wasn't just them throwing money just to throw money. They tried to look at what we would need in terms of dealing with this long term and look out for it in that way. But keep in mind, they signed off on that the end of April. Today is September 30th. And right now, that 600 is gone. Yes, there was a little stopgap measure. Remember that little executive thing that the leaders signed that gave us that extra FEMA money? Keep in mind that FEMA probably needs that money because, again, the report today is those fires in California getting worse again.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money we're going to have to pay into the system because people going to need to replace their homes being gone.
You got the fires. You got the floods.
And of course, people use that money now to pay this pandemic stuff.
Right.
And it's gone. So now what we supposed to do? And of course, every time some numbers come out, they're like, look, jobs are coming back. So many people got back to work next week. But think about it. That's because some of these places are opening up more and more. So yeah, they're back to work. But are they really back to work?
Right.
Are they still getting 40 hours?
Are they full? Are they still full staff?
Exactly.
They're not.
So it's not necessarily so. And then think about a lot of these jobs that's coming back online. It's really the servant jobs. the jobs that the people who serve the people, are coming back online.
Mm-hmm.
The major jobs, either one, you're working at home, so that's not an issue. Two, the people that's doing concerts and what have you, their job's not back online, and who knows when that's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because large crowds, that's an ultimate no-no right now.
Except in case you're having rallies.
Oh yeah, don't forget the little pep rally. We about to get into that. Don't spoil it. We about to get into that.
But going back to the voting,
all those people, they are still out of work and will be out of work for quite some time.
Amen.
And then even for the people that are working, that's only getting half of what they normally would get. They need a little boost. Because remember, just like there's unemployment, there's also underemployment.
Mm-hmm.
But also know, because again, you know me, I like to do my research. Go look up online unemployment figures for basically how much money each person gets a week from each state. Here in Michigan, it's $362 a week. That figures out to what, about $9.20?
That ain't even that ain't even. Yeah, that's horrible.
Let's just say you a person and you got one child. That child ain't working. He ain't gonna get the $362, just you. So y'all supposed to live off that. But yeah, you can get food stamps and stuff
and
like
only
that.
one time.
Still not gonna get it done.
Right.
Rent is like $900,000.
You can't pay your mortgage or your rent off of a food stamp card. Come on now.
Absolutely.
So
and they don't want you to steal your food stamps. So what you supposed to do?
Right. Well, because you still gotta eat. So ain't no point in selling them because you still gotta feed the family. So, but the thing, but when it comes to down the ballot voting as well, you gotta know what the people are standing for, and know all your needs. All your needs are never going to be met by one person. Period. That's just regardless. But you want to take and find out all the positive. Get you a sheet of paper. Do all your positives of this person, all the negatives. Weigh out which person fights for more of what you want. That's on all the whole ballot down. And then once you're voting, make sure you're voting properly. Fill out everything right. Fill out the holes completely. Because as soon as something's not right, that ballot's getting pitched. Okay?
Yep.
It's getting pitched.
So that means when you get to that part of the ballot and it say circle here, you want to shade all that in.
Mm-hmm.
Every little dot. Because you don't want them to be like, well, see, that little person not shaded. That's no good. Your ballot's gone. Because that's basically what the leader is saying when votes will be compromised.
Mm-hmm.
Things of that nature.
Right.
So, of course, now, cuz, we need to get on to it. You know what happened last night. We all know what happened last night. So, we're about to go into our final topic here. We want to talk about
the debate.
Fiasco. Keep in mind, some people termed it as, hold on, I think I actually wrote down some of these things it was called. One person called it a total debacle of ethnic and seismic proportions. Jake Capper from CNN called it, hold on, I needed to write that down exactly. I think he called it dumpster fire he called it a dumpster fire within a train wreck within a hot mess.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one lady on CNN, she really went there.
Dana Bash. Dana Bash.
A complete
Yep.
show.
Yeah.
Because it really was.
Well,
when I was tuning in, I knew it was going to be some mess. I knew it. I knew the leader was going to come on there and act in complete and total behind. But I had no idea.
None.
It would go to the extent that it did.
Well, my thing is, in the beginning, okay, they came out, it was acknowledgeable, hey, how you doing? But curse word, bleep. When he basically said, he shoved it off like, I'm speaking, but I don't want to speak already. You see the attitude from the time he walks out. There's no real cordialness.
The arrogance that he exuded was just unbelievable. I mean, even you see Joe tried to be cordial and speak to him like, hello. And he was like,
mm-hmm. grunting and stuff. It's like, but okay. Ooh, it's so much to that night. It's just so much.
Right. I mean, because keep in mind, people, you know, I tried to be a responsible person reporting the news on this thing, going back to my journalist background, and I started taking my notes as they were having this thing about, okay, that was a good point, that was a good point. Somewhere around in here, I just gave up.
Right.
I couldn't even keep up.
Because you couldn't hear anything. It was constant, you know.
They were talking over each other just like me and Cuz doing now. And the only difference is we being respectful.
The tactics. The tactics.
Yes. You shut up. No, you shut up.
You know.
No, one of the memes that I saw last night is like the 2020 presidential debate, and it showed his two kids doing like this.
Yeah,
that's basically what it was.
You know, but this is what I have a problem with. Number one, it's one of my biggest issues is this is my debate with you. Why do I feel like I got to bring my kid into it or your kid into it? It's absolutely no reason for that. There was no reason to attack.
You know, that's one of the unwritten rules. When people go into the White House, their kids are off limits.
Right.
Let them kids live their life. They didn't sign up for none of this.
But
let them do them.
Don't be bringing them right. But the thing about it is the disrespect behind it. Okay, so you have Biden trying to explain about his son Hunter. Now he opens up and talks about, oh, you mean the drug addict one, you know, or whatever like that. Well, that should have been off limits right there. But Woolry, what was it, guys? The mediator, the moderator? Chris Wallace couldn't handle anything. He couldn't handle none of that. And it was like, you're going to let this man... Huh?
Very few people on planet Earth would have been able to properly moderate what was going on on stage last night.
But for you to go there and then when Joe Biden steps aside and basically says, okay, to the American people, yes, I had a son that was on drugs, but he's overcome it. But look at what all his kids have had to go through. The loss of a mother, the loss of, you know, all this stuff is going on. I'm not saying that that's a right to be, you know, we all got druggies in our family or have had at some point, and they're getting whatever the case is. But but what was so disrespectful is when he started talking about Bo, and then when he said, Bo's the one that died. So he's like, are you talking about Bo didn't, he said, I'm not talking about Bo. I didn't know Bo. How disrespectful. And then he went into the boy being in the military. And I'm sitting up there thinking, how are you going to attack the vice president who sent his son off to war, but you dodged the war 5 times, and in the last 4 generations, you can't find a rump anywhere that served in the government or served in office anywhere.
Absolutely. And another thing is, like I said, you're trying to gain people's votes. Mm-hmm. If anything, last night, the leader lost people's votes because he showed no compassion or empathy to people. The only reason, well, I won't say the only reason, one of the main reasons why, if you want to perceive there was a winner last night, it to be Biden, is because at certain points he realized that, yeah, I'm arguing with this fool, but I'm still representing what I need to do for you guys.
Right.
So as opposed to looking off to that, he addressed the camera to the American people themselves and said, look, you see, this is what you got here. What we're trying to do is this. We need to leave this type of foolishness and thought process alone.
Right.
We in this together. He on a whole different thing with his. He's crazy.
Yes, and the stoking. You know, back when Hillary was running and how he walked behind Hillary, he didn't leave his podium this time, but he stoked him even more horribly because he stoked him in his in the whole demeanor of him. He wouldn't allow him to even be. He wasn't allowing him to be thought-provoking, and I felt like Biden was the true winner. I really did, because if it had been me, Christian or not, minister or not, I think I would have went Buckner on him.
Hey, and I'm telling you, yeah, I would have bucked up on him too. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, you know, the Bible teaches us not to hate.
It would have been what the buck.
Right, with such hate and his demeanor. with such hate in his rhetoric. Keep in mind, this is where he went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to explain to you because, like I said, and please, if any of you who are Trump supporters are listening right now, I definitely want to hear your opinion on this.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where Trump went wrong. Okay, one, the way he acted, that's a given. He acted like a 5-year-old baby.
Well.
Two, you are trying to convince people because you know you're losing right now. You know you're losing.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to convince people to vote for you. One of the main things you do is you show people you actually care about certain things.
Right.
One of the topics was about the civil unrest and the Black Lives Matter movement.
Wow.
At that time, you're supposed to humbly, when you get your 2 minutes, take your 2 minutes like, I really am sorry for what's going on.
A total debacle. Yes.
I really do care about you. I'm sorry that these things are happening. And I realize that I have not dealt with these things the way you would like. I am going to do a better job. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and together we're going to work this thing out.
Right.
I do like you guys. I really do. He did none of that.
None.
None of that. And then to further complicate the issue, when you got to address that question, the question of the night, will you denounce the white supremacists group? Which one? Which one you want me to?
What's the name? What's their name? What's their name?
Right. Okay. Stand by and stand clear. Whatever the Smurfy said about that whole thing.
Stand back and stand by.
And of course, today he's trying to dog walk that back like, that's not what I meant. Well, that group that you discussed it with, they knew what you meant, and they approved that message. They got T-shirts out and everything.
They redesigned their logo.
Absolutely.
And
right now they like, oh yeah, he down. Okay, get us some more bullets, please. We got some things to do on election day.
Yeah. He said stand down. He told us to stand down. That means when he gives us the cue, we going in.
Mm-hmm.
Because
here's a few things he addressed. Let me address them. He talked about part of the failure in trying to control these protests because, of course, he still wants to make it seem like most of the protests were violent protests and not peaceful protests.
Right.
Is that they are being done in cities that are run by Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
Now, y'all know that's a lie.
Right.
These protests are going on all over the country.
Yes.
Remember, at certain points, it was going on all over the world. The world is tired of racism. But then another thing he'll point out is, yeah, these cities are being run by Democrats. These states are being run by Democrats. People, there are 50 states. Let me give you a quick number, folks. That says 26. 26 is the number of states that's being ran by Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you do your quick math, you'll figure out that 26 is more than 24. And if there's 50 states, that means there are more states that are Republican run than Democratic run. Now, in the same token, you know I like to do my research on that too. 80% of all people of color live in a metropolitan area.
Right.
That's just the fact of the matter.
Right.
It makes sense because
in the cities,
most of the jobs that people of color do are business oriented in that regard. There's not a lot of black farmers and things of that nature out there.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us that's working, we work in urban type situations. So that being said, when you look for people that think like you, that will govern what you want to govern, it just so happens that most of the Democrats fit into that category.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why a lot of these cities are run by Democrats. Here in Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But that being said, that does not mean this is why things are going bad. Look at some of the states that's on that top 10 list for the COVID. Florida, Texas. Those states are being run
by Republicans,
by governors who are Republican.
But it's because they didn't do what they did. What they did what the leader said versus doing what the CDC leadership said.
Stop using that foul language, cuz.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
where's the soap? Where's the soap?
But yeah, like she said, they're doing what he approved of because remember, and again, Another thing that a lot of people who are against Trump will point out, you don't seem to be for the people. You seem to be for your people, the
Right.
1%, the people with the big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
All your policies seem to fit and be steered toward what they want and
Right.
not what we want. So again, you had a chance last night to put that bed to rest, and you did not do it.
No.
We got to open the economy up. Who we opening the economy up for? Who are these major tax cuts for? Because you see who they benefit. Like I said, okay, one of the pundits pointed out today that you can't get mad at him for getting over on his taxes because it was policies that Obama stated into play that allowed him to do that. But just because you set up to do wrong don't mean you do wrong.
Right.
First of all. Second of all, you knew all that went on the whole time.
But
we've been asking you since day one, where them tax returns, bruh? Where them tax returns, bruh? I'm still being audited.
4 years.
Go ahead,
4 years. It takes 4 years to do an audit. Come on now. But go. Oh, you said so much, and I had my mind like, wait a minute. But when it comes to the taxes, I'll just stop on that. The tax part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got a somebody in the family that believes, oh, he's only doing this because it's for the big businesses and all this kind of stuff. Well, I have a problem with that because if you are such a big business, then why do you need all of those cuts? Like if I own Walmart's, I'm Miss Walton or whatever, a Walmart.
Right.
I own Walmart all over. I'm getting all kind of money from Walmart. But I want to knock down and knock down and drag out the mom and pop store that's only getting 25 to 50 people come in her store every month. Why? I mean, it's like we're just overzealous with greed. You already got enough. Like, I don't understand how you physically feel like it's okay to put everybody else out of business for your taxes. Right. Do your taxes right and pay your amount of share of prayer.
When all this has been going on this year, all the little mom and pop stores, they end up closing down. The ones that stay open, the Krogers, the Walmarts, the Targets of the world, when all is said and done at the end of the year, they're going to have big profits.
Yeah.
They're going to make career-defining money.
Right.
They're going to have all type of extra money that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
And so those people...
Are they going to reinvest that into us?
No.
Are we going to get extra part of that?
No.
Because you know why? One, when they ship out all these things through Amazon Prime and what have you, how much are they paying to ship these things out through the federal government mailing system?
Right. That's right. No.
How much money are they paying in taxes? Meanwhile, they're making billions and billions of dollars, people.
Right.
Trump let them get over like that. Meanwhile, basic person A, when all is said and done, next year, when it's time to get our tax returns, because half of us have been on unemployment most of the year, I won't be looking to get back too much money.
No.
If anything, they're going to be like, now you owe us this much.
Right. And the other thing is the government could have fixed a lot of this anyway, because if you think about, even with the COVID, let alone not doing what should have been done in the first place. But when it comes to the housing, for example, if you living in a house and you have to pay a rent to a person, and you need to be able to pay that person, not you, but the government could have paid that person your rental fees and put it in on the back end of you, like instead of your lease your lease being closed out in that year time, stick another 8 months on there once you started getting paid and start paying yours, because they paid it on the front end. There's ways they could have cut into this and took care of the people, and they strictly didn't do it because they wanted their own pockets full. And if you all that can still continue to vote for people like this, that don't care whether your kid is eating, don't care that some of our kids get the best food during their school year at lunchtime because of whatever situations are going on at the house, and they can't. If you can literally vote for these people that don't care like that, I don't know what else to say, because it's all written. It's all written.
Right. Because see, another thing, cuz what people aren't understanding is because, again, I oftentimes seek out people who approve that message, just to find out what their thought process is. I really want to know. Back when I was working, I was doing things where I would go to different areas all around the state. So I was constantly talking to people from a variety of different walks of life. So I was able to have these discussions with people respectfully, where I could gain understanding as to what are you thinking right now that you approve this guy. And most of the people I talk to, it usually goes along two lines. One, they were tired of government as it was at the time. So they decided to give him a chance because in the end, he's not a government person. Maybe that's what it will actually take to fix some of this problem that we have with the government. And the other people look at it like, well, we know Donald Trump got that dough. He's big business. And I want him to be president because he's going to make my money grow. And he's going to get me rich beyond my wildest dreams. And I believe in that. So that's why I'm voting for him. Now, of course, some of them are actually hiding under a cloak. They're hiding under the cloak of, I'm saying that, but really, I don't want no girl in charge of my country.
There you go.
I'm not playing with her. And that's what it was. Okay.
We still want them barefoot and pregnant with as many kids as they want because we want to stop abortions too.
Right. Because keep in mind, like I said, going back to that whole ballot thing. Remember, at one point in time here in America, you could be president as long as you could be president. We eventually changed that law. Remember Franklin Delano Roosevelt?
Yes.
He was president
16 years.
Truthfully, the only reason why he wasn't longer is because he died. Now,
and
keep in mind, you better believe when you have a person who's putting 3 judges on the court, that's something that might come up in those next 4 years.
But not might. It is coming up because one thing.
Think about it. You control the Senate. You control, in essence, the House. I mean, not House of Representatives, but the Supreme Court. So yeah. Well, remember, there's been a couple times where he'd be like, no, not 4 more years, 12 more years.
You're right.
You think that might not be in the back of his head?
Right. Well, and that was what I was going to say. If you really listen to, see the thing about Mr. R. Rump, one of the things that he does do in the midst of him and all of his little, is he always tells what's on his mind. He's too I don't even know the word I want to use, but he always says what's on his mind. And he has said that on several occasions. Well, maybe my daughter will be president one day. Maybe my son will be president. He said that on several occasions, just talking, like as he's talking, to the news, whatever he's saying. He'll say it. And I've heard it on several occasions. He is trying to do that. He's trying to do that parliament dictatorship type of stuff where I'm here and I'm in presidency. When I die, it's going to go to my child. And when my child, that regime like over in China,
right.
Japan, whatever.
But remember, the people whose message he approves across the world doesn't tend to be our allies. Remember those people that's been down for us forever? He basically trying to put them on the wayside.
Right.
He's down with the Putins and the North
Ching
Korean
Young or Young.
And the guy that's
Kim.
running Brazil right now.
Yes.
He likes the people that think like that.
Yes.
Like, I run all things. This is my house. Y'all do what I say.
Right.
Ain't no king here. You was not king so-and-so.
You're right.
You are Mr. so-and-so.
I even like England. He likes that. He likes.
Was right when he said this. You are the worst president ever. Period.
Point blank. Period.
Remember, people, did we not forget? This dude got impeached.
Right.
He's been impeached.
Right. The
only reason he's still president right now, to begin with, is because
of the
Republican cronies saved that butt.
Yeah.
And y'all want to put him back in office after everything that's happened? Y'all buying all these conspiracy theories?
I mean,
and another thing, another important part of what happened last night, let us not gloss over that, when they asked him, when the ballots are in and it is independently certified that the winner is the winner, will you peacefully step aside? He never said yes to that. He kind of made a gesture like, yeah, we'll go with that. That don't mean yes.
No.
Joe Biden looked in that camera and said, yes, I will.
No, he never really.
And then he goes on to talk about well, this probably is going to happen. That probably is going to happen. That's probably going to happen. So there is no perfect system in any of this thing. Yeah, a few of those ballots are going to be probably thrown out for whatever reason, and it has in the past. But that's going to be a very small percentage. But he's going to take, just like he took last night, talking about those 9 ballots that they found
in the ocean or in the water.
Ballots. And no, all of them did not have his name on there. That was one of the many lies he told last night.
Right.
7 of those 9 ballots had his name. 2 of them did not. But nonetheless, he gonna go with every little piece he can. Be like, see, they're lying on me. Mm-hmm. No. Hold on. No, we're not doing it that way. Security. Yeah. Supreme Court. They trying to do me wrong. Rule on this.
Right.
Remember, I got this in there. Y'all better look out for me.
Yeah.
And boom, we stuck with 4 more years of foolishness.
Yes.
That's why we get out and vote, because we need to make it to where when all the ballots is counted, he can be like, yeah, I got these votes. But Biden need to be like, I got this one and this one and this one and this one and this one. 6-1. You lose. Bye-bye now.
Right.
Bye-bye.
And with that being said, as far as like going back to the voting real quick, when we talk about there's no reason to vote, my vote don't matter. Y'all think about this. It took, now I was born in 1966. So in 1965 was the Voting Act for Black women. So that's when we were legally allowed to vote. 1965. White women were like 20 years earlier or 15 years earlier, something like that. I forgot the amount of years. But
1921, I think. Was
is it 20 something? 20, yeah. Okay, so yeah, something like that. Yeah. So, but to say all that, I'm saying that if it wasn't important for us to vote, they wouldn't fight us and suppress us as much as they are. You have to understand there's a meaning to the madness. There's a meaning and behind the reason why they fight so hard to suppress our votes. You cannot think that your vote doesn't matter. That's this, cut the thought out. All this people with this black power, I understand it. I feel black power too. Right. I feel it. But the thing about it is,
let me go to this point. Brother Will, you know I'm talking about you specifically when I go here. Yeah. When all these people got voted in office, when Obama got voted in office, there are several people to this day be like, Obama didn't do nothing for us. Let me tell y'all. For one, y'all didn't get Obama the help he needed.
There you go. The ballot. That ballot.
He can pass certain executive orders, but in the end, the Senate are the ones that control the purse strings of the government. That's why we sitting here now waiting on the 600 and the second stimulus and whatnot. They are the ones that control that. Get them out of office.
Get them out of office.
That person's president, but you don't deal with that part of the equation, you're not going to get what you want out the deal.
Right. And even when it comes to the healthcare, when it comes back to the healthcare, that's something that people don't really recognize either. The healthcare, if you don't go out and vote and you use Medicaid, I'm talking to a lot of us, Medicaid, Medicare, some of your insurance companies and stuff, VA, he's trying to cut some of that out. Veterans, he's trying to cut some of that out. Right. So my thing is, if you have pre-existing diseases or illnesses, you're cut out. You're going to be cut out. And then let's go here. If you have COVID and you didn't get sick and die of COVID, but you have been diagnosed with COVID, that's pre-existing. You won't have no medical. And see, y'all got to think that this goes far greater than what's going on today. This determines the future.
Last night, one of the topics was, what are we doing about health care? And the leader has talked about his plan
for 4 years,
and it's coming out real soon. Today is September 30th. You see anything on that paper, cuz?
Nope.
That represents the health plan that I heard about from the leader last night.
Yep. July, he said it was coming out.
Where's that, man?
July, he said it was coming out. July, he said it was coming out.
Where's it at, man?
Nowhere.
I seen nothing. And last night, in terms of what you're going to do for us, people of color, and us, the people, I ain't hear nothing from you. All I heard about is, I did this, I did that. One, you ain't really did that much.
Back up and stand down.
Already working better than it was, and and you just added a little bit to it. But you want to claim it like it was the whole thing. Like I said, I put a list in top 10 reasons why not to vote for Trump on one of my podcasts. And I also addressed in a previous podcast that what Joe Biden needs to do to win this debate. He did not do half of it last night. He had done it. We clearly would be saying today he was the winner. 3 things he should have done. He started doing some of them, and some of them he did not do as much. 1, stick to the facts. You know this man didn't lie. All you got to do is call him on his lies. I don't understand why you can't sit there at a debate and have cards that say certain things and be like, okay.
But he did. But he did to some degree. Come on now, he did to some degree. Because, but he could. But how could you when you can't? When the moderator can't control the animal in the room? That's like letting a kitten out and letting a tiger out at the same time.
Right, but in the same token, you got to try your best to stay on top.
Yeah.
I understand you're dealing with a whole bunch of foolishness on that end, but bottom line is that's how you fight him. You fight him with your facts and with your words.
Right.
You tell him, okay, we'll address this. And then at that point, you ain't got to say nothing. Be like, okay, you lied about this. What you got to say about that? You let him go on his little rant. Okay, what about this? No, let him bury himself. Because that's a lot of what he ended up doing last night.
But I think he did bury.
He made himself look more foolish than he ever did before.
Well, but I think that Biden, I think that Rump did actually bury himself. But the problem with that is, it's, I mean, imagine like even with us talking, and imagine if I was going in on insults the whole time you're trying to open your mouth. At some point, either you're going to get just as defamatory, or you're gonna get just like I am, or you gonna just be like, right, or you gonna end up being like, shut up, stupid, shut up, because when you get annihilated with negativity, or how, if I'm, when he started talking about his being smart, you're using the word smart against me. Don't you ever. You didn't even graduate from. Who cares at 70-something years old? Both of y'all in y'all 70s. Right. Where you graduated from?
At that point, if I'm using my thinking, it's like, yeah, okay, but at least at my school, they taught us that you don't put bleach in your veins.
Right. I think Joe, I really think Joe tried to do some of that, but I really just think that because you're dealing with a moderator that's telling you, basically you're wrong for interrupting, when this fool, every time you open your mouth, he's saying something. So I think that it becomes,
right.
it became.
Okay, and everybody been going in on Chris Wallace today. People, that was not an easy thing.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Chris Wallace is a very experienced journalist.
Drink Coke.
Do I agree with everything he says and does? No. Do I agree with where he works at? No. But in the same token,
he did his best.
For the most part, he is very fair when he has his interviews with people.
Yes.
Both Democrat and Republican. I also know from being a journalist, and I've actually moderated a discussion at one point in my life. Mm-hmm. You'll know, if you get to know me, I've done little bits and pieces of everything. Mm-hmm. When people get to that mode, okay, your point is you're trying to get them back on topic. You're trying to draw them back in the boat.
Yeah.
Or back in the car, as Kevin Hart likes to say on his little podcast. Get back in the car, y'all. Get back in the car. Mm-hmm. And you know who you're dealing with in terms of that. So, yeah, he could have been like, hey, Donald, shh, let somebody else talk. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, essentially he did, but
I'm the president. I can say what I want.
Yeah.
He might, at certain points, it might as well have been that.
Yeah. And I think that's what the issue is. I don't think that the guy Chris Wallace did a bad job. I really think he did a good job. But I also think that the only thing that you could have did to save anything was to cut Trump's mic off. Like literally.
And a lot of people talked about that today. But see, think about it. Okay, let's just say it would have went that way, where you could have just pushed the button, his mic went off. Knowing that fool, he would have been like, and came over the screen like, no, you're not just gonna let this guy say what he wants to say. Yeah.
I mean, there was.
You'll be like, "Whoa, you're touching me."
It was a no-win situation when it comes to that, because you really couldn't control him, But yet, and then because he couldn't control, because the moderator couldn't have that control he needed, he was going off of that. And then Biden's sitting there going, I have no help. You can't control him. I can't control him. And therefore, what I want to talk about.
Anybody that's a right-minded individual, how could you possibly say that Donald Trump won that debate last night?
Oh, yeah.
There were actually a couple people, mainly people that work on Fox News, of course, who actually felt like he won. Not by a large margin, but enough to give him the win. There's no way he won that debate.
The only reason why they're saying that.
What did he actually discuss?
Nothing.
That made
nothing.
Nothing. Because remember, these debates are not for us. It's not for us, because we know who we vote for.
Right.
It's not for his main base of people. They're going with him no matter what. The debates are for the undecided voter, the independent voter, to determine which one of these two candidates should I vote for. Now, looking at that debate last night, put your mind in the mindset of some of those people.
Well, I was about to say.
Vote for last night based on that?
What'd you say?
I said, based on that, did you figure out who to vote for just based on that one debate?
Yeah.
You saw last night?
Yeah.
Did that tell you who to vote for?
Yeah, for me it did. For me it would have anyway. You know why? Because I look at things as who looks more. One thing that I've always looked at is who looks more presidential. Just the same way when I raise my kids. Don't talk back. Don't be acting out your, you know what I'm saying? There's certain behaviors that I taught them as young children. If you are disrespectful and nasty, I'm already done with you. So when I look at who was the most disrespectful, nasty one, I'm choosing somebody as though if it was my own child. I got two kids and I got one that's acting this way and one that's acting that way. This one's going to get a treat because they acting better and this one ain't because they ain't acting right. That's the same way it would be with my voting when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm. Because see, one thing that this man has not learned that will get him a long way to people being in his corner. Mm-hmm. When you're wrong,
admit it. Admit it.
Apologize. It does not make you weak to apologize.
Right.
Whoever taught you these things taught you wrong. Mm-hmm. It is not weak to apologize. Yes, we know Biden does not have a perfect record. We discussed that earlier.
Right.
He is not a perfect human being. Some of his things that he have advocated definitely did not work out well for people of color. But that being said, he has admitted to these things.
Right.
He has said he was wrong about.
But can I go there real quick? Can I go there? Can I go there real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now I was in high school in 1984, right? That's the year I graduated high school. And this bill that they're talking about, it was in the 80s. Okay. Now I'm not going to go there on my personal life as far as my family goes, but drugs was a big issue back in those days in a big part of our family. A lot of people were on drugs, and the drugs were causing them to act out. Then you had those high drug dealers pushing drugs into schools and things like that. Now, I remember specifically, even as a high schooler, where the drugs were going into the like in Chicago and things like that, into the schools, and they were having to put locks on the schools because those people were getting to those children in the schools. You know what I'm talking about, right? In the 80s.
Yeah,
okay, so back in those days, now people can sit and say everything that they want to say, and I don't think Biden really did mean to hurt people. I really don't. What I think happened was because we as mamas in those days, I wasn't a mama then, but I'm saying I know of mamas that was like, we need to do something. The government needs to do something about these guys coming in here, busting through our schools, selling drugs to our kids, and our kids having to be drug dealers out there on the street for tennis shoes. Okay? So we like to forget sometimes how bad it really was in the 80s with gangs and drugs. You know what I'm saying? It was really bad in the 80s. And so when Biden was forced with, of course, he didn't do it by himself because he had to vote just like a lot of them was voting. You know what I'm saying? Just like they're doing now. One person, Lindsey Graham, may vote for something, but they need all of them to vote so that we can pass this. So that's what happened with Biden. And a lot of people don't understand. They were screaming to Biden back in the 80s and to some of them other Clinton and stuff. Change this because our kids are getting killed. Our kids are their drive-bys are going on and in these cities.
80 Charlotte Buckner Billings.
A lot of stuff was going on in the cities back then. So now they're not, I'm not saying that he was right. I'm not saying that. But they were trying to come up with a plan to help us because we were screaming this. So even though it turned around for the bad, okay, so we getting into the cities and we going to clean this up. And it did clean up to some degree, but we going to clean this up. But now that it's cleaned up and the repercussions of it being clean or being better has been, we taking the man out of the house, we doing this, we doing that, we not, and all of that became, instead of it just being used for that little section of time and saying, okay, when it gets cleaned up, we going to back off because now people are doing right. It stayed into power. You see what I'm saying? And so I feel like Biden. My sister keeps trying to call me. I'm on live, guys. No, but let me turn this down. But a lot of stuff, I think that it wasn't really meant to hurt to that degree. Even though he's apologized for it and stuff, I don't think that was his heart, really, even then. I think it was like, let's clean this up and do what we can. And then it ended up just going years and years. One person would get but the inequality was the problem. That was the big problem, the inequality of it. You given, now that Oxycontin is a problem. You know what I'm saying? Now that that's a problem for our white counterparts, we want to call that a illness and a disease, and let's give them mental help for what their problem is. But when blacks were doing it, it was violent. It was so that's the biggest.
Let me address something since we go in there. Now, one thing that the leader pointed out that I do unfortunately have to agree with is the fact that this pandemic causes more problems beyond just the pandemic itself.
Yes.
Because of the people that's being isolated and not able to do their usual thing.
Right.
It's caused a lot of depression with people.
Yes.
With an increase in divorces, obviously, an increase in domestic violence, an increase of violence with children, increase of pedophilia and what have you.
All of that.
Because the normal checks and balances that would come into play with these kids going to school or people going to work or being able to go to their meetings or what have you freely, those things are kind of lost in the pandemic. Mm-hmm. But in the same token, there are ways to help these people that are not being considered in the process.
Right.
Like I said, a lot of the things that were addressed in the HEROES Act address these things. And another thing I really wish Biden would have went into is why we don't have that money for the people.
Right.
He tried to appeal to us when he would look in the camera and be like, this and this. And I must admit, one of the most powerful things he said, Joe Biden, last night, was when he looked in there, he's like, there's a lot of you sitting here now, and you're sitting next to an empty seat.
Yes.
Where your family member used to be. That's no longer with us. Mm-hmm. That definitely struck a chord with me.
Right.
Because particularly as people of African American descent, we all know somebody at this point in the pandemic that we were close to in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
It was a friend or a family member or somebody you used to go out with or what have you. I've had people like that die of COVID, and that affects me. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm bothered by that. But see, the thing is, he looks to normalize over 1,000 people dying every day in this country, and we can't let him get away with that.
Right. Well,
bottom line is all these things that he addressed with Joe last night, that he tried to blame the Democrats for this and that. Like Joe said,
this is your watch.
Things happen on your watch.
On your watch. That's right. That's right. On your watch. Yeah.
Not Obama. And if you notice, every time the name Obama comes up out of somebody else's mouth, the look that he gets on his face. Mm-hmm. Why he hate that man so much?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He hates Obama.
He hates him because he rose in a position that he never thought anybody would ever have.
Right, because you do realize if Obama was trying to play it like that, and he was trying to get the laws changed to where it could be more than 2 terms, Obama would be president right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You realize all it needs to be said is for Michelle Obama to get up out her bed tonight and be like, you know what? Tomorrow I'm about to announce on national television I'm running for president.
Bam.
If she does that, she probably would win. 35 days left until the election. She probably would win outright over both of them.
Yeah.
With ease.
Yeah. Yeah.
She could definitely
And,
get my vote.
and to be totally honest, I know I would have actually, if I would have probably done even a step further with, if I was Joe Biden, I probably would have picked her as my running mate.
If I was him, I at least would have tried. I at least would have had that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know how Michelle will often tell you she's not really trying to be in the political world.
Right.
But keep in mind, Joe, if you do get in office, man, if you don't try to get that woman on your cabinet,
or in the Supreme Court, because she is a lawyer.
Because remember what he said. If I am the president and I get to pick the next justice, it will be a black woman.
Yeah.
And who better to be that judge than her?
Yeah.
Somebody who actually has experience as
a lawmaker. Yeah, she has. Yeah. And I feel like, and that's one thing I had discussed with my husband. I was like, Michelle Obama, he should either pick her for vice president, or he ought to pick her in the Supreme Court. So when that comes, they don't have to. And see, that's it. People need to do their research. You don't just have to have 9 justices. You can have 10, 12, 15.
That came up last night.
You can have 10, 12, 15. So I suggest.
Because remember, that law is on the books because it was changed from that.
Right.
It was not originally 9 people.
Remember. Right.
And again, it could be as many justices as the law provides. But again, you have to have the vote for that. So if you want that to happen, that means you pick the senators that think like you think.
Mm-hmm.
You pick the House of Representative people that think like you think. So when it comes,
they said that's not part. They said that's not law, though. They said it's not a law.
It's not law at the moment, no. But the Constitution doesn't say that you cannot change the amount of justice.
Right.
Nothing in the Constitution.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the point I'm making. It doesn't say that. So if Biden was to win and Biden says, you know what? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and let that one woman, that whatever they're choosing, whoever she choosing, I can't remember her name, Kim Cox or whatever her name was.
No.
Amy, what is it? Amy something. Yeah.
Amy Barrett.
Yeah, so if they choose her and Biden happens to win, then Biden needs to come back in and say, okay, I'm choosing 3 or 4 more. I'm putting 3 or 4 more on there. Just to...
And even things out. That is a possibility. Yeah. Like I said, I understand why they choose not to answer that directly right now.
Right.
But at the same token, like I said, it's supposed to be 2 more debates. Okay, let's go through this point and we need to start to wrap it up. But there's supposed to be 2 more debates for the presidents and 1 debate for the vice president. Mm-hmm. The vice president one's coming up next week. Now, I think that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, it will be way more
civil,
respectful, I think, because the clown's running mate, he ain't that guy. No. He's not about to go on there and act cool. Remember, he's supposed to be a man of faith and whatnot.
Yeah.
But in the same token,
what is it called? What is it called again? What is he again?
Oh, the leader's cohort. The vice president. That guy. Yeah.
What is he?
Vice president. That guy.
No, what is he?
What is he? What do you mean?
What was my word?
Oh yeah, he's a Trumptonian. Right. We didn't even get into that. Go ahead and break that down right quick.
He's a Trumponian, like Trumponian.
Yeah, okay, Trumponian. Okay,
yeah. Trumponians are people that are gullible and just do whatever Mr. Leader decides. Yeah. Mr. Leader decides that they are. If I tell you to jump off the bridge because I tell you to jump off the bridge because I am who I am, and you go jump off the bridge, you become a Marlonian.
How high would you like me to jump?
Yeah, you become if I tell you to do it, you become a Marlonian. So right now, these are Trumponians, okay? People that were willing to sell their soul to the devil because they're with him. And
right, because and I like that term because it basically explains something that's just not sensible to me.
Right.
After 3.5 years of this foolishness that you've seen this man do, the things he has said about people,
lie after lie,
the whole thing, and you still approve that message, you're a Trumponian.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only thing that makes sense. That means, like he said, he could go in the middle of New York City,
5th Avenue,
shoot somebody.
That's right.
On film and won't nobody do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Trumponian.
That's
okay.
it.
He killed it. Oh, well.
He had a reason.
So, yeah, that being said, we about to run into our time, cuz.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I had fun.
I did too. Thank you.
It.
Thank you very much. I appreciated it.
I appreciate it as well. And y'all let us know how it went. I know a lot of y'all ain't listened to it live per se, but you'll have a chance to catch the rebroadcast.
Yes.
And you'll be able to make comments then. And yeah, we'll address them. And like I said, I'm not quite sure exactly when our next broadcast will be. It'll be sometime soon. But
we may want to we may want to come back on after that debate.
Yep. Why not? So yeah,
we'll see
sometime later on next week. And we'll go ahead and address what went on then.
Okay.
Like I said, we want this to be a show where we have our views and explain them to you. But, we want you guys to go ahead and put your comments in and whatnot and let us know what you're thinking. And we'll address that. Who knows? We might get the technology set up to where when you want to address something, call the number. And we go ahead and let you on and have your say. As long as you ain't talking crazy. Let you talk crazy. I'm hanging up on you.
Amen.
For that.
Okay, so you're going after this is over. It's on the podcast. So you're on your podcast too, right?
Well, like I said, it'll be on my podcast page. Yeah.
Okay, so
remember, you got video podcast. I'm doing the audio. So
okay.
Like I said, I'm not gonna switch this to the audio, but like I say it will be on my Get Off My Lawn Facebook page for y'all who are looking to address some of the things that were said outside of what we did on the video today. You can go to my podcast page. It's called Get Off My Lawn.
Mm-hmm.
Exclamation point 3 times. And it's on my Facebook. You can go through it, through the link through there. And I'll go in there and sign you up. You can join our community, and we will talk about these things. There's also some shout-outs I want to do right quick to some of my podcast buddies. There is the For Show Radio crew. That would be Big Dave and V.L. Martin. A couple of Eastern Michigan brothers that I went to school with, and I oftentimes chime in on their podcast a little bit. I want to shout out my guy Will Muhammad. He has a podcast that talks about the Lions and other issues. I will be checking in with you next week, buddy. I also want to give a shout out to Stan Mason. His podcast is Behind the Blue Curtain, where they talk about police issues and policies and police things. They basically do a deep dive into what goes on in the police department. Shout out to him. Also, shout out to LaRonda Young, who's often on his podcast. And I definitely got to shout out my people, Big Meech and Disha T Radio. Y'all the ones who convinced me to go live and do this. I appreciate you, brother. Big Meech, Auntie Nikki, Big Red Ally, my guy, Big Red Fella. Thank y'all. I'll be hollering at y'all soon. Y'all let me know how it went, all right?
And you guys,
what you got to say?
And I just say, everybody, thank you all for joining me again. I'm not going to be on. I'll be on Monumental Moments in God's Word tomorrow night. But for tonight, I'm just going to put our podcast on my page and tag Eric on his page so he'll have it as well. Y'all take care and God bless you. And anything that you heard, this is just our opinions on things. It doesn't mean that we're speaking for the world or anything like that, So, but take in consideration of what we are saying.
Telling y'all what the buck we think about things, plain and simple. Like I said, y'all got your own conclusions, and if y'all not sure, do your research. I'm a big component of that. Y'all got all these computers and phones and tablets. Don't look up some of this stuff. Just because we said it don't mean that's what went on.
Amen.
But bottom line is, we got to start looking at these things. We can't just blindly sheep our way through all this stuff, because in the end, they'll let whatever happen.
Right.
You don't want that. So whether you go to the poll, whether you vote, whether you do the ballot through the mail, what have you, if you're not even sure, there are things where you can look up on the internet how to go about these things. MyVote.com, I believe, is one. Here in Michigan, you got Michigan.gov.vote. That'll tell you how you can ballot and all that good stuff.
Right.
Do not let these people suppress your ballot.
That's right.
If there's an issue, you go to those same websites and they'll tell you who to report to let them know, they're not trying to let me vote. Or they say I'm not registered and what have you.
Make sure
don't let them steal this election because they done scared you into not voting.
That's right. And make sure that if you know older people in your community that maybe can't get to the polls, that can't drive anymore, go pick them older people up and get them to the polls. Get them, if you need to go in and help them sign their, help them vote. Go to their homes and help them vote if they have ballots. I'm not saying take their votes for them, but help them vote. Mm-hmm. Help them. Show them how to do it. Help them do it. Because we have a lot of elderly people that just don't have a way to get out there to it. They're scared of COVID. They're scared of things going on. Get them out there. Right. Get them a mask. If you got to help do it, do it. We are responsible one to another.
Help them fill out the paperwork they need to get their absentee ballot.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Going through all that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's what you do. Because in the end, we're not going to let them steal this. We're not going to let them talk us into not voting and scared us. We done fought too hard as people to get to a point where we could choose to vote or not. For them to just tell us, no, y'all need to vote.
And remember, anything that's worth having is worth fighting for. And we have fought to have this right. And people have died for us to have this right. So please, even y'all young people, I'm really screaming to the young people because I hear so many young people in the ages of 35 and younger that will say, I have no reason to vote. Don't think like that. Think if they're trying to arrest you to keep you from voting, if they're trying to stop you from doing, driving your car to keep you from voting, if they're locking you up to keep you from voting, remember there's a reason why they're doing it. Your vote does count. Get out there and vote.
Absolutely. And remember that same energy that y'all young people putting out in the streets to fight social injustice and systemic racism, use that same energy on November 3rd to get y'all booty to that poll.
That's
that same energy that y'all went and got that Popeye's chicken sandwich and stood in line for hours for just an okay sandwich that they have cooked and have breaded because they were cooking them like pancakes.
That spicy chicken. That spicy chicken that ain't no good for you.
Ready to get your vote on and get this foolishness up out of here so we can get back to some sense of real normalcy post-pandemic.
Amen.
Do what y'all need to do.
Amen. Amen.
All right, cousin.
Take care.
I'm going to talk to you a little bit later.
God bless you.
Guys. We'll catch you soon.
God bless you. God bless you. And enjoy this. And we got somebody. Clap, 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 clap. Y'all take care. God bless you.